The first ruin fell on a cold morning when the twin suns had barely risen over the sand ridges of Terra. Our excavation team had been studying the monolithic structure for 3 weeks, mapping the lines carved into its surface, trying to decode the shimmering glyphs that pulsed with a light older than any civilization we knew. The ancients of Terra were said to have vanished 20,000 years earlier, leaving behind machines so advanced that even our most brilliant engineers could not understand their purpose. Some believed the ruins held weapons capable of tearing apart continents. Others believed they were communication centers designed to speak to civilizations across galaxies. I believed they were warnings, not gifts, and every humming pulse inside the ruins felt like a heartbeat waiting to stop. When the first crack appeared, it echoed like a scream across the sand. The once smooth obsidian wall fractured at its center, splitting apart as if something inside had taken its final breath. Aaron, our lead engineer, ran his scanners along the crack, shaking his head in disbelief. "This tech shouldn't be failing," he muttered. "It's beyond anything we can build. It should outlast stars." Yet it was crumbling anyway, decaying under its own impossible age. Moments later, the entire front chamber collapsed inward, kicking up a storm of dust and ancient ash that strung our eyes. Inside the ruin, we saw the unimaginable. A spherical machine, floating, silent, perfect, dimmed like a dying ember, its radiant patterns fading into cold metal. We had found a core engine of the ancients, a power heart that could shift gravity and bend the atmosphere into shapes. It flickered once, then went dark. In that moment, the legends became real. Their ancient tech was dying, and no one knew why. But something knew we were there. Something had been waiting for the machines to fail. And when they did, it came for us. The attack began with a tremor that traveled through the atmosphere like a drumbeat. The sky rippled, bending at angles that defied every natural law. An entire fleet materialized above us, dark, angular, jagged ships with glowing crimson seams, ships that moved like predators studying their prey. At first, no one believed what we were seeing. These ships did not match any faction known across the inner systems, nor any pirate signatures from the outer void. Their silence alone was terrifying. They hovered, watching, waiting, calculating. Aaron whispered, "They came for the ruins," and he was right. When the core engine inside the fallen ruin went dark, it had emitted a pulse, weak but detectable across great distances. That pulse had been a distress beacon, one last signal from a dying civilization. And someone had answered it. Not allies, conquerors. The ships unleashed a barrage of energy beams, so precise they carved pillars of molten glass from the sand. Our camp exploded into chaos, scientists scattering, equipment vaporized, comms torn apart in an instant. Our weapons were useless. Standard plasma rifles barely scratched the shields of the invading drones that swarmed from the ships. These drones were made of segmented black plates that shifted and reconfigured midair, adapting to our attacks. Several soldiers fired point-blank at one drone, only for its armor to rearrange and absorb the energy entirely. Nothing worked. Nothing made sense. The invaders did not want us dead, not yet. They wanted access to the ruins. I saw one drone scanning the collapsed entrance, its beams penetrating deeper than any human device. And when it confirmed the core engine was inactive, it emitted a harsh metallic cry, disappointment or rage, we couldn't tell. One thing was clear. The ancients were not myths. They had enemies. And those enemies had just found us standing over the corpses of their ancient machines. We fled into the canyon tunnels, the only shelter far from the open sands. The drones hunted us relentlessly, crawling across canyon walls like spiders made of metal and malice. Every movement reminded us of how powerless we were against technology designed for purposes far beyond war. But inside those tunnels, humanity still had one advantage: our engineers. Aaron gathered survivors around him, spreading out schematics, scrap parts, and magnetic tools. "If their tech adapts," he said, "then ours must evolve faster." That was how the Resistance engineering core was born, right there in the belly of a dying canyon. Every surviving technician, programmer, metalsmith, and mechanic joined the effort. We melted abandoned mining drills, fused broken plasma casings, harvested energy cells from damaged rovers. What emerged from this chaos were not weapons in the traditional sense. They were inventions built on desperation and brilliance. A rail pulse cannon powered by unstable geothermal vents. Shock mines that fired unpredictable arcs of magnetic lightning. A sonic disruptor tuned to the drone's armor frequencies. Even experimental exoframes built from the remains of ancient machinery we had recovered earlier. The exoframes were unstable, unpredictable, and sometimes detonated without warning. But they gave us power. Enough to stand against the invaders. Enough to tear down their overconfidence. The first test came when a drone found our hideout, crawling through the tunnel ceiling with metallic claws extended. It screeched when it detected our energy signatures, and its plates began shifting into attack mode. Aaron stepped forward in his newly crafted exoframe, a suit humming with dangerous blue energy. He raised his arm and fired a pulse shot that tore the drone in half. The entire canyon shook. Everyone stared. For the first time since the ruins collapsed, we felt hope. Human engineering had been born in the chaos of death. And now it had teeth. Ferocious, unstoppable teeth. The war turned. The invaders expected frightened archaeologists, not engineers who could turn scrap into weapons that broke physics. Our ambushes became brutal symphonies of sparks and twisted metal. The drones adapted quickly, but we adapted faster. We discovered their weakness: power nodes at the center of their segmented armor, exposed only for fractions of a second between reconfiguration cycles. But fractions were enough. Our rail pulse cannon fired slugs so fast they left ripples in the air, piercing the nodes before the drones could shift their shields. Shock mines exploded in magnetic storms that ripped apart entire clusters of enemy machines. Our sonic disruptors sent resonance waves that crumbled the drones' metallic bodies into piles of vibrating shards. The invaders retaliated by sending ground walkers, towering machines shaped like mechanical giants with 6 legs and seismic cannons. But the exoframes tore into them with savage force, climbing their limbs, ripping open their cores, letting them collapse like broken temples. The sky turned black with smoke, and the sands ran silver with melted metal. The invaders began to panic. We saw it in their maneuvers: erratic, rushed, uncertain. Their ancient advantage was fading because their ancient enemies, the ancients of Kithra, had built tech so old and fragile it could not sustain them anymore. Their power source, whatever it once was, had weakened with time. And our engineering, raw and brutal, was overwhelming their elegant but dying machinery. They had come expecting to reclaim the remnants of a long-fallen empire. Instead, they found humans whose ingenuity thrived under pressure, whose creativity grew sharper with every threat. Their ancient tech crumbled. Our engineering slaughtered. But victory was never simple. Because deep beneath the sands lay one final ruin. A ruin still alive. And waking. We reached the last ruin at dusk, its towering entrance lit by flowing blue veins that pulsed like the heartbeat of a living creature. Unlike the first ruin, this one was intact, perfectly preserved, untouched by time. As we stepped inside, the walls lit up, recognizing us not as enemies, but as heirs to the galaxy's future. Aaron walked ahead, his exoframe humming softly. "This ruin isn't dying," he whispered. "It's evolving." At the center of the chamber floated a massive sphere, much larger than the one we found weeks earlier. It shone with starlight trapped inside liquid metal, shifting into shapes that resembled constellations. This was the prime core, the heart of the ancient civilization. The invaders wanted it because they believed it would restore their power. They believed it belonged to them. But the core had other intentions. As Aaron approached, the sphere unfolded like a blooming flower, revealing patterns and scripts that projected themselves into the air. The symbols rearranged into a language we could understand. "A new custodian is required," the core said through light, not sound. We stood in awe. The core had chosen us, not because we were the strongest, but because we were still capable of creation, innovation, evolution. The invader fleet descended upon the ruin moments later, determined to take the core by force. The sky opened with a roaring storm of fire and energy. Drones poured into the chambers, ground walkers tore through the outer walls, and metallic shrieks filled the air. But the core reacted instantly, sending waves of shimmering energy through our exoframes, our weapons, our tools, improving them, upgrading them, making them more powerful than anything known to humanity. Our rail pulse cannons fired beams that bent through space, hitting multiple targets in a single shot. Our shock mines formed magnetic spheres that tore enemy machines apart as if made of paper. Aaron's exoframe transformed into a living armor of blue light and shifting plates. We became something new, humans woven with the essence of the ancients. The final battle was a blaze of metal, light, and thunder. When it ended, the invader fleet lay broken across the sands of Kithra, their ancient technology in ruins. Their reign over forgotten civilizations finally ended. We stood among the wreckage, exhausted but victorious. The core pulsed gently, as if pleased. Humanity had not just survived, we had inherited a legacy. One built not on ancient perfection, but on relentless innovation. The ancients' tech had crumbled at last. Our engineering had slaughtered everything that tried to claim it. And from the ashes of fallen empires, a new beginning rose. One forged by human hands and powered by the last heartbeat of the ancients.